Y'all, we are so fortunate to have an amazing guest today, one of my favorite bands ever, and sure, many of your favorite bands as well. We're joined by Stephen Carpenter of Deftones, guitarist, absolute mammoth of a band. This group has a huge show coming up later this year with System of a Down. Bro, you guys sold like 50,000 tickets for that in an hour. What does it mean after all these years to still have so much support from the band? And also, bro, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I am so stoked to have you.
Thanks for having me. Obviously, it's an amazing feeling to be able to do that. I'm very grateful that people have that interest, and yeah, it'll be a good time.
For those of you that didn't see my post on Instagram, I gotta just totally thank you so much. When people are texting me going, "Bro, are you seeing Steph from Deftones fucking wearing a rock feet shirt on a podcast?" I didn't believe it. I saw you doing that, and I was just blown
That
away.
day I actually wore that, and I was wondering. I was wondering if he's going to see this. I actually saw your post before anyone else told me about it, so I was like, "Oh, dope."
I've been listening to your band for so long, and you guys are really just an insane band. What do you remember about those early days when you first encountered your bandmates like Chino and growing up in those early years?
We were all in school essentially the same time. I'm 3 years older than Abe and Chino. So I had already graduated when I had met Abe, but I knew Chino because his cousin lived across the street from me back in the day, and that's how we originally met. But other than that, we all really came together through skateboarding. Just meeting each other, at different spots and having mutual friends and stuff like that, and then just started jamming it out.
That's amazing. And when you guys get together in a room early on and you guys start riffing and I don't know if you're practicing or whatever, but did you have a sense early on that you guys just had a musical chemistry that could take you places?
I don't know if you'd say a sense, but I mean goals for sure. I definitely I was driven. I wanted, I was pushing to start a band and 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 get to rocking out and all that. That was always, a dream of mine. So
And who were some of the bands early on that, it seems like you're kind of more into the heavier stuff. Who were some of those bands early on that motivated you to pick up a guitar?
I think a lot of people would probably say the same thing, or definitely have said the same thing. But Van Halen, Kiss, it was really the album cover for Kiss Alive 2. That was one of my first records I ever got when I was a kid, and just opening that thing up, I was like, that's what I'm gonna do.
It seems like from talking to other guitarists, so I don't know if this is the same for you, but I remember Zach Wild told me that it has to feel like playing a video game to get really good and to kind of become one with the instrument. Was it something that kind of came naturally to you, or did you have to practice methodically to really find your sound?
Well, I never really sought out to find my sound. I'd never really practiced a lot. I mean, as far as like, I'm not trying to dismiss anything that I do, but as far as shred level goes, I'm very low on that scale of shredding. As far as what we as guitar players define as shredding. I mean, I play power chords and palm mute as much as I can, and even the palm muting doesn't have that much, role in what we do as a band. As a player, for me, I always gravitate to that stuff. That's my personal taste and interest is in the heavier stuff. But I listen to everything. Grew up with hip hop. The hip hop. As hip hop was being born and all that. All of classic rock. That's all been relevant. But just everything, R&B, soul. I mean, it's not stuff that I listen to all the time, but I mean, I've always enjoyed it. Disco was really popular when I was young too. So I mean, I enjoy all music. In fact, that's how I came up with the name. Def was at the time obviously the slang for cool, and tones to me was kind of like a vague metaphor for like all styles of music. So the goal was, I wanted to play like the dopest things, derived from all these different styles of music. So Deftones is kind of how that came to be as far as that goes. And yeah, no, I mean, I enjoy music, and largely music that's drum driven. That's kind of really where my interest is in the music itself. But yeah, guitars, bass, keyboards, whatever, all of it. There's so much. I mean, so much to draw from and being excited about musically. You'll never know it all. I mean, like I get into like in the last handful of years, a lot of bands that I've gotten into, they've been around like 10 years or more. And I'm like, where was I for the last decade? But I know where I was. I was busy doing what we do. I was out busy working. When I wasn't doing that, I was with friends or family, so I didn't get to, keep up with everything. But I'm on, like I said, we're here together now because I'm on YouTube every day. I watch videos every day, and I love your channel, and I watch your posts every day when they come out.
It's so crazy to me.
Yeah, hey, well, you've heard this your whole life, I'm sure, but it's a small world, and 6 degrees, right? So I mean, apply that to anything you want. It's the same. It's all real. It all like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, that day I wore that shirt, I was just like, I wonder if he's actually going to see, and then, like I said, I saw your post, and then a friend of mine reached out, our mutual
Priscilla,
friend,
she's awesome.
and she's like, that she says she worked. I was like, no way, get out of here. So I was like, yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to come do this,
Bro, numerous people hit me up and were like, do you see this? And I immediately went on YouTube and saw it. And it meant a lot to me because I've been listening to your band for so long, and just like, going back to like, for me, it started with really White Pony, and I'm like mind blown by that. I was, probably in 5th grade when that came out. I was a total, like, it was Korn, it was Slipknot for me. For you, what's the first show that you went to?
Oh, the first show I seen, like officially was probably Slayer, SNFU.
Wow.
And there was one more band. It was at a club in Sacramento.
That's sick.
It was long ago.
Y'all in Sacramento probably had, for me, it was more like in the MySpace era, unfortunately. So like, it seems like scenes were a lot more. Did y'all have like a strong music scene growing up where you're from?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just kind of the art scene. Music's just one part of it. There's so many dimensions to the arts. I mean, like I said, all the different, even the different genres of music, they're all bound. They're all intertwined, and have become a lot more so over time. But yeah, I know I there was a scene, but I mean, I think that's the scene is always kind of just your groups of friends that you all hang out with. And as you start getting older, you start venturing out and you start meeting different people in different areas. And, before you know it, your scene has grown from your neighborhood to your part of town, right, to the whole town. Now you're going outside of town, and then you're doing other cities and other states. And then, I mean, we've been doing this now internationally for a while, which, I'm sure you're aware of that. I haven't traveled internationally now for a while. But
I have read that, but I don't understand the reasons behind it. I don't know if you're comfortable sharing. Like, I don't really.
Oh yeah, no. And I tell you, it's just simple. I think like every single one of us wrangles with getting on a plane in some way or another.
Yes, and it still scares me.
For me, sure, and that's understandable. And so for me, that that anxiety. When it came around, it was right around the time of when the pandemic started and all this. I had made that decision, and that was because we were getting ready to go on a trip. We were going to travel to this far off destination, and I was like, look, if I got to go all that way and then get stuck out there, and then they want to jab me with something, I was like, there's no way I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's crazy. And so that didn't happen. I was just like, my decision was simple. Like all the anxiety that I deal with when it comes to that, I was like, look, I can just put a stop to this by just not doing it anymore. Right. And it's like, I'm going to lose out, it's going to, it's a bummer. I mean, obviously I want to go out there and I want to, perform those shows and be around all the people that support us and enjoy us. But I'm like, it's a decision I made for myself. And that's, I mean, there's people that understand and people that don't understand. And for all those that don't understand, maybe one day they will. I don't know. Maybe they never will, but that's
Well, you
okay.
know what though? I think that it also maybe is a testament to your bandmates because, for you to be able to do that and them to have your back, obviously, as they do, I think that's a beautiful thing as well. And I'm sure most fans are going to understand this. Dude, I used to almost be in tears when a plane would take off. It feels so unnatural to me, like that the propulsion systems, the takeoffs and all that. I struggle. I still do, but it's tough, bro. It definitely freaked me out when I first started flying.
Yeah, and I don't want to get into that whole conversation of all the sketchiness that is or isn't involved with all
Yeah.
of that, right? It just, for me, I mean, even, like as you talk about that, the way I always just fell
Yeah.
asleep before takeoff. It was actually takeoff I'd wake up, but then I would go right back to sleep. I was like, all right, let's just go back to sleep. That's the easiest way for me to handle all this. And, but yeah, like, yeah, I just think, like I said, for me, I was like, I can either keep feeling like this forever every time I do this, or I could just stop feeling like this and just not do it. And like I said, it's not easy, like I said, I'm missing out on not getting to go and enjoy something that I used to enjoy all the time. And that was, that was a tough thing to deal with. But, the other thing is, like you said, about the guys, they got my back, but, they, at the same time, they would love me there too. So, it's not all, that's not the easiest thing, but, I'm very grateful that, we have our friend Lance who actually steps in and does all my parts of the music. And, I'm just very grateful that, I have that, to give for the other guys, so they can go because they want to keep going, so I was like, I don't want to get in the way of that. That's my number one reason. My number reason was just I literally can end all that anxiety by just not doing it. That was my number one reason. Number two is, the last thing I want to do is go to any place far off and then they're just going to go into lockdown because they felt like it. And I become a refugee somewhere where I can't even get back to my house. I was like,
Yeah.
And at minimum in this country, I could walk myself home if I had to. Might take a long time, but I'm going to get there.
And I do not agree with that. You got to take a vaccine to enter the country. When you are out there on tour, like for as long as y'all have been touring over the years, for me, I think in addition to traveling internationally, something I hear from friends that I really empathize with is it tough for being away from home, like, going on like I'm sure you probably might even done longer than this, but 90 days, however long it is that y'all are out there on the road, is that seems tough to be away that extensively and that constantly.
Yeah. I mean, again, still going along the same subject, that's just another factor in what we were just talking about. I mean, how many birthdays have I missed? How many, weddings of friends, family have happened that I never got to see. Just not being around all your friends and family. And when you're young and you're getting into all this, you don't really think about that. You don't think about those effects. But I've got family that's all grown up now that I was barely there around when they were growing up because I was out being me. So yeah, it just I could stay here and get those experiences now and I don't know, just I'm always enjoying life, but just have that fulfillment that like I said, I never had any of all that.
It's just hard to miss those events. It seems like for a lot of artists, and I think many musicians have wrestled with that over the years.
It's again I think it's easier when you're young. You're not really considering how the impact is on you and all these different things and. Again, I mean, everybody works through it and everybody does their best. And, all my friends in the band, Frank and I are the only ones that didn't have kids. So everyone else, they've got kids and, I've seen all their kids growing up. They're all off in college now. I mean, it's like, okay, we're old, we're not like elderly yet, but, I'm gonna be 54 in a couple of weeks, so I mean, it's not like I'm not up there, but it's the things that, like I said, you miss out on some stuff by making this. Is I'm sure anyone that's lived a lifestyle like this would agree, that you sacrifice a lot of things for this to accomplish this, if you will, and it's ongoing. I mean, everyone makes their best and does their best with everything, and you just keep going.
I also think you have not only been a part of music history, but you've been around this. I'm very much fixated, if you haven't heard me rant about this, on the late 90s and early 2000s era in rock. And like, what a time. You had a front row seat and you were a part of it, a huge part of it. What was that whole scene like during that era? It just seems like it was magic. I don't know where you're at on the term new metal. Some people love it, some people hate it. I think it's pretty much just considered the new metal era now. But what was that time like to have been there and had a front row seat to it?
Again, being immersed in it at the time, you actually don't think about it because you're just out there doing your thing. And I'll definitely say that, back in those days, the term new metal, when they wanted to use that,
It was negative, I heard.
it wasn't, it wasn't offensive, but, that's and I say, let's just say it's negative, but it's not really negative, because I definitely have a far more appreciation for that term at
It's
this
very
time
positive now.
than then. Yeah. But at the time, I mean, for me, having grown up, with the big four and just metal being
Yes.
born, in general, to me, the term was kind of weird because I was like, well, it's just metal. It just happens to be the latest version of it, but we're just doing metal. So yeah, I've always understood why the term was there, but I didn't have any, like I said, I didn't have a greater appreciation for it until it was over.
What was that first big tour that you can remember going on? What that first, like, holy shit, I can't believe we're on this lineup.
Well, our first actual tour was with the Bad Brains, and that was pretty amazing, and it actually didn't even finish. So
Mm,
I was kind of kind of some, like it was surreal, that whole experience.
right.
And but then our next actual tour was us, Sugar Ray, and Monster Magnet, and that was us out there in a van, on doing that whole trip, and it was amazing. I mean, we were out having fun, getting to, like we're traveling across the country, versus locally in California and stuff like that. So it was exciting. It was, it was the grind because back then, you were still out trying to play for crowds that no one knew who you were. I mean, no one really outside of, our area, maybe they heard the name or they thought they heard the name, but it was all brand new all the time. And then after that, we did a tour with Anthrax and Life of Agony, and that was a dream come true. Like Anthrax was my favorite band, of the big four. I mean, I liked all the big four, but Anthrax was the band that I really liked. Like and I think we were talking about that earlier. Just for a second about like that starting for your tone and how to build getting to all that point. And it's like my tone, as far as I was concerned, would have been just the sound of Scott Ian and Jim from Faith No More. That was the sound that I was like, man, this is the sound that I want, and I thought that was the sound I had, but obviously what it is and what you think aren't the same.
But I think you're definitely perceived now as you have your own sound. I mean, Deftones has such a unique sound, both instrumentally and vocally. And I just remember, I think probably the first song, because I was like, in this era, it was like very reliant on radio. So I think the first I became aware of Deftones was Change. And I mean, God, that song goes so hard, still to this day. What can you remember when that song was coming together, when you were either writing it or recording it? I'm very curious on like whether people knew it was going to be a big song in the moment, if you had an idea of what it was going to do.
No, it was and it was really organic. Most of the songs come about pretty organically where we're just jamming. Obviously we'll craft them into more, once we get, through that initial jam. But yeah, no, I think it would just, uh, I think the excitement is just being able to like come up with a song in the moment. It wasn't a complete song in the moment, but I mean, the parts were flowing somewhat right away when it comes to that one. And no, I mean, there wasn't a thought like, oh, this is going to be the one or anything like that. It was just like, whenever we get to that point, we think that about all our songs when they're coming together, like, oh, it's going to be a good song, because you start feeling all excited and you're enjoying the vibe. But I mean, as far as like putting like, a level of success to it, that never really crosses your mind. Not seriously anyway. I mean, we'll kid about things, but we're never in a position where we're expecting anything to be anyway.
When you talk about touring and meeting so many people and growing up loving this music, is there anyone that comes to mind that you met early on in your career where you're like, damn, I can't believe I met that guy? One of your idols growing up that was really cool to you, that was a great experience.
I've been, I've been surprised a few moments, I mean, like I said, we got the tour with Kiss back in the 90s for like 2 weeks.
That's sick.
They were on, that was one of their, their big reunion tours. It was all original members at the time. I never imagined that was something that would ever happen, but, I mean, we weren't close with those guys or in any way, I mean, we maybe like on a couple occasions at all passed by them in a hallway during that, that little run. And, but we did another tour not too long after that, maybe a couple years after that, and it was with Ozzy and I want to say it was Pantera, and all our gear was stolen at the last two dates in Detroit. Somebody stole our truck, and we ended up missing the first of the two shows. And that night, we were hanging out at the show, and Ozzy came in and brought us a case of Heineken and a big giant bottle of Jack Daniels. And, he was just giving us, his love and saying, how much that sucked and this and that. And, I never would have imagined Ozzy doing something like that, let alone meet him at the time, you know what I mean? So that was pretty amazing.
I mean, very few people ever get the opportunity to meet Ozzy, and then to play a show with him too is incredible. Did y'all ever do Ozfest? For some reason, I think y'all did Ozfest.
Yeah, we did Ozfest in 99.
That's so sick.
And
those lineups back then were crazy.
And like you say, I think all of us, I mean, everybody gets starstruck in a little bit way, in some little way, when you meet someone you're familiar with. You know what I mean? I'm talking with you and I'm a little starstruck because you're someone I'm familiar with. You know what I mean?
That's crazy.
But like I said, as a fan, I'm glad, hey, I'm glad that we got to have this opportunity, and I can tell you, hey, I know you're a fan, but I'm also a fan.
And, dude,
I mean, that's the whole really connection right now. Why I'm here. I just wanted to say, hey, thanks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it means the world to me, and it also seriously has blown my mind. Before I heard this, I'm listening to Deftones every single week, twice or three times in the gym a week, and it just is like, it's timeless music. And I think even like, I hope I'm pronouncing this right. The album is, I think it's Koi No Yokan. I don't know how to say it. I'm so sorry for butchering that.
I think we all butcher it when we say it, mostly because how it just rolls off the tongue, but it's Koi No Yokan.
Koi No Yokan. That record, bro.
Yeah. That's my favorite of all.
Is it? It's probably mine too, other than, White Pony, but like the riffs on that record, and then the vibes and like the synthesizers and the production sound so massive on it. I listen to that record like Entombed. I'm obsessed with that song. Just the way it kicks in when the chorus hits. Talk about that record and how that album came together, because that's just for sure one of my all-time favorites from y'all.
That came together like all of them do. I mean, there's just a process that we go through, and I'm not sure how different it is for everyone else. I think everyone goes through it. Essentially, you're going through a process. The actual writing of that, I don't remember too much of that. I mean, I remember some moments of it. Um, like always, we have our days where everything's good, and then there's times where, there's nothing happening. We're just sitting around, and we're just like, somebody gets upset because we're feeling like we're wasting time and this and that. I'm like, but this is what we do. This is kind of how we've done this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um, but that was for me. When that record was done and we released it, that was probably one of my hardest periods, is because I actually was, I had changed all my equipment that I was using prior to all that. And what I thought was going to bring, greater use or make things easier for me ended up making things more difficult. And that, I'm not trying to hate on any, any equipment or anything at the time, but that was when I first made a switch to using the Axe effects.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, and I just went, I went through some learning curves on that thing. Like, I don't know, everyone does, but I had a couple occasions where I'd done a lot of programming on it and stuff like that, and I made the mistake of updating it while on tour and just wiped out all my settings. I'm like, what?
Oh my God!
Never again will I do that. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't believe that happened. And like I said, I did that twice. It was the second time where I was just like, all right, that was it. And again, I have a lot of gratitude for that period, because I'm amazed, and I'm grateful, like I said, that we got through it. Like, everyone, kind of just forged through it, because at that time my guitar sound was garbage. Like, to me.
You mean on that record though?
No, not on the record. The recording.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds amazing.
But no, this is like live performances, and what was incredible to me, like, I was just like, for me, I was struggling with it. It was not satisfying me personally. But then I would get compliments, at the end of the shows. People like, that sounded so sick, blah blah blah, and so I'm trying to cope with my negative feelings toward what's happening, but with other people, like, trying to be like happy about it. I'm just like, wow, this is crazy to me. I don't even, I wasn't connecting. It wasn't connecting, and then one day I actually, a little thing triggered, and I made an adjustment, and it ended up being the thing that made all the difference in using that piece of equipment. And the two things I did was, initially when I first started using it, I used that like a preamp. So I was running that into a power amp, and I wasn't paying attention to numbers or the dials or anything. I was just setting it up to my ears, making sure it sounded good. It was all good. It was when they re-released their later version of it, and they added this feature called tone matching. That's kind of when everybody started modeling their amps in that period of time. And I was like, oh, that's going to be sick. I'll be able to have my tone from every record. We'll be able to sound like all the records now, right? And that's really that was my setback, was trying to achieve that. And I was using, I don't even know if you're even familiar with.
No, I am.
The Axe effects.
Everything you're saying, because I knew you were going to say Axe effects, because that was around the time that like Gent was taking off and everybody had the Axe effects. Yeah. My buddy John had it, and we would like record covers, and it sounded so sick. And then it was like Kemper, and everyone's like, yeah, the Kemper's the thing now. So no, I definitely know what you're talking about with that. And like, I think you're your own worst critic though. It's like when you hear your tone, and then other people come to the show and they're like, dude, that was sick.
Yeah, well, like I said, the thing that was bothering me, the thing I was struggling with was in the blocks, in the effects blocks in the unit. My rig has always been, and most guitar player rigs are always in mono, right? So, but I had, I always used at least two cabinets, and it would always be left and right. But without me even being conscious of it or paying, really thinking much about it, I've always been running a mono sound, So even though I'm looking at two cabinets, it's the same signal coming out of both of them. And it would only become a stereo signal when I added a stereo effect. And when I was building all my new patches during that time and setting everything up, I had set it up with a stereo cab. block in there. And that was, it was dividing up my signal and splitting it, giving it the stereo uh, uh, sound, the width, if you will, and to me, it was sounding hollow. It was out of phase. And I didn't know that because I'm not, that's the last thing I'm thinking about is stuff like that. And it was, like I said, one day I was just sitting around because like every day, I was like, we were always getting into some arguments. I was always messing something up, like live because I'm too down this rabbit
But you
hole
say,
of equipment.
when you say getting into, messing stuff up, you're saying like, are your bandmates coming to you like, you screwed that up?
Oh yeah, no,
Oh my God.
for sure. Yeah, no, and like I said, that was, but I wasn't arguing with them because they were
Right.
right. It wasn't sounding right, and only I couldn't figure it out. And then one day, I had, I thought to myself, I went back to when I originally started using it. I didn't have those problems. It wasn't until I started redoing everything, and after, like I said, a couple different updates and my patches, trying to incorporate the tone matching sound into all this stuff. It wasn't until one day we were sitting somewhere on tour, I don't remember where, and I was just like, how about I switch that cab block to a mono block, because I was always using a stereo cab, and I was like, because I've always been mono, so let me just flip that and see what happened. So literally I went and just made that one change, and all the problems I had literally went away. That gap that is in the sound when you're out of phase immediately filled in, and I was like, wow, all this time all I had to do was just flip it to mono. You know what I mean? And again, like I said, back to where I'm grateful that we were able to go through that period of time, and people were still able to enjoy that experience, even though for me and us, I was creating a problem internally for us. It was, something. And that was really even kind of like, the start of even another problem, because I'm at the place now where I'm using the Line 6 Helix, right? That's kind of the bass in my rig. And I actually don't have a problem with that thing. I love it. Everything about it is working great.
And the Line 6 is like cheaper than the Axe FX.
No, it's
about
same area. I mean, a little bit. It's a little bit cheaper, but not a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still going to spend $1,500.
Right. Oh wow.
Yeah. So, but I've been able to, like I said, it's the sound that I want. I can get it out of that thing right away. And now that I know I'm not dealing with this stereo thing, you know what I mean? I like I said, that problem is long gone, right? But what became, like I said, a side problem on top of that was, like I said, my homies clown on me all the time. They're always just laughing.
You're like judged by other guitarists?
No. I'm just talking about my friends.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like we're always picking on each other for this or that. You know what I mean? And so now it's like, it became a problem where, the next problem that got generated from doing all this gear changing was every time I changed, like from my old system to the Axe FX, I had to program everything. So there was a lot of stuff in the catalog I couldn't do because I couldn't program the effects to sound like other effects from other stuff, right? And then I went, then going from the Axe FX to the line to the Helix, right? I had to start programming everything again. And the problem started being like, every time we would have rehearsals, I'm like, hey guys, I need some time to where I could, program stuff and make sure I got it dialed, so everybody's always in this waiting position for me because I got to do this, stuff a problem that I created, right? But then there came a day where I absolutely was like, all right, this has to end. I can't keep, this is not my goal, and this is not the future, right? So I just had to strip down everything, simplify it, and really lock down and get it all programmed. And there's probably some stuff still in the catalog that probably I don't have the effects program to, but for the most part, I can get through just about everything at this point, And I don't know. I just my problems with equipment, you know what I mean? Like could easily be easily been remedied had I just never switched to begin with. But that's a bridge already crossed, and here we are.
Even, different from, recording music, I just try to keep production stuff that I do simple as possible to just kind of like not have to get stuck in that analysis paralysis period, and then it just kind of takes the fun out of it.
Yeah. And so, as you know, I mean, you're a fan, the timeline, you've seen all this, take place. That would bring us up to gore,
Yeah.
right? So everybody thinks I have this huge problem with gore because some interview years ago, and this is why, I don't even like doing interviews. This is dumb to me. But, I was just talking about how I just wasn't having a good time, like there was moments in, during that session where I just wasn't, happy, but I would tell people that. So they wanted to distort it any way that they want for their, their purposes. And, but I literally had, only a problem with one song when we made that record. That was Hearts and Wires. And I just, for whatever reason, it wasn't gelling with me while it was being, the creation of that song. And I just simply, whenever everybody started playing it, I just didn't even participate in it. And for two reasons. One, I didn't want to, again, I just, when I step aside, I'm just trying to stay out of the way. I don't want to mess it up, But the other was that I just, I wasn't feeling it, you know what I mean? And as we got closer and closer to the recording of the record, I was just like, all right, this song is it's going forward with or without me. You know what I mean? I can, that was kind of like, the perspective I had on it. And I was like, it's time to actually come up with some parts that I actually like, and this song would be something for me, And so I did. I buckled down and came up with some parts on there that I thought fit the song and the vibe of what was happening. And I really liked that. So that's actually one of my favorite songs off that record now, you know what I mean? Because it was such a challenge, and but like trying to, let everybody know, it's like, hey, I really actually like that record. Didn't have a problem with it. I probably have the least amount of problems in the end, and yeah, it's just weird how, how things want to get, stretched out like that, but that it started again because, like I said, the problems that I was going through with the aspects up until that had led into that process. It wasn't really, it was that same period of time where I, that clicked and I had, I figured out the solution to my problem. And then I got on to, like I said, when I got past that and I really just started treating it like any other piece of equipment that I would have done in the past, I got past all that. But it was, it was in that period of time, and that's part of why, like I said, I was, that album was a struggle, but that woke me up because when we did Ohms, I went back to my original gear, like that I was using from Diamond Eyes going back. I went back to that equipment because I was like, you know what? I just don't want to deal with these issues, right? I want to, I was starting to use like real amps. Like when we actually started working on, started writing for Ohms, I was using a couple different heads versus like my actual rack that I had all my stuff in. And that really, pushed, after going through that whole project, which was amazing, went to this whole period of life that we're all living through right now, that we're all in.
Which is a total shit show for all of us. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a whole all kinds of conversations that it doesn't even matter if we have.
Yeah.
Just, what I mean? Blah.
Yeah.
But here we are. We're working on another record right now.
Are you?
And as you know, I do a couple days on the Dr. Green Thumb podcast. And I've talked about, the writing process now really all through the beginning of last year. And, but when we got into this, the studio to actually where it was my turn, time to do guitars and all this, over the past, I don't know, let's just say 10 years, maybe it could have been less. I've bought a bunch, I've acquired amplifiers along the way, different heads and all that. And this record, I actually, got to bust all these amps out doing, the guitars. And I was like, all right, I've got this, reinvigorated love for an actual tube amplifier. There is something about that is that's just undeniable. It just can't be beat. And you know, I live in a world of both digital and analog, and they both have a role, and they're both amazing. And when used together properly, great satisfaction can be achieved. And that's kind of, like I said, that's kind of where I'm at now. But I'm not struggling with the programming
Right.
of things no
You got all
more.
the
None of
obstacles
that
out of the
stuff.
way.
Well, I personally did a lot to strip away a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? Just you know, like I said, I actually have an Axe Effects in my rig, right? But I'm married to it because I used on the Koi record, I used 4 or 5 different factory presets on songs, right? There's no way I'm going to achieve those effects with anything else. They are what they are. They came out of that machine, designed by those designers. I have to just use that piece of equipment to accomplish what I used it for,
Right.
And with this record, I haven't used a lot of effects at all this time around. Not to say I didn't use any. I definitely got effects on there, and possibly more could show up. Nothing as of this moment, has gotten added to it. But my position has been, if I'm going to use effects, they're the effects that are actually inside of the Helix, because it's already there. And if I'm going to use any in there, I don't even want to go into changing them. I'm just going to use them as they were built from the factory. Here they come. That's what I'm going to use them as. Because should that device fail me anywhere, at minimum, I can go grab a new one from somewhere, turn it on, and those sounds are just right there in the box. I don't have to change nothing, So, I tried to make it a less is more this time around.
I think even over the last 10 years, to a certain extent, there was a period where rock was pretty stale, in my opinion. And I think it's because there was a time, maybe 5 some odd years ago, a lot of bands were kind of sounding the same that were coming up, maybe. Y'all have your own unique, different sound, but there was a lot of similarity. People would talk about this a lot. And now we're seeing newer bands that are coming out that are very different. Sleep Token sounds very different from Bad Omens, etc. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on where rock is today, and maybe who are some of the bands that you're listening to that you kind of alluded to earlier.
Sleep Token's one of those bands. I love those guys.
Yeah.
They're amazing. Also, Bill Murray.
Oh, wow. You're
guys last year.
That is so sick. His new album's out now.
Yeah, no, I got it. I love it. And like I said earlier, it's amazing. He's been doing stuff well over a decade, but Bill Murray's been going on for a decade practically at this point, right? And that's why I was like, where the hell was I for a decade where I've never even heard the name, let alone the music, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's not even his first band.
He really came onto my radar maybe over the last year or so, and it's not just the music. You listen to it and it's so catchy, and there's elements of maybe Southern rock, and then he's got some country singers that'll sing on tracks. But dude, his music videos trip me out, man. They're hilarious.
I love his videos. And again, another group on that list. When I got into them, they were Eskimo Cowboy, but now they're Electric Cowboy. And,
they're killing it.
Again, they got an entire catalog of records. We probably even did shows with them in Europe, and I didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like how did I never hear this stuff? You know what I mean? We're at, and again, like I said, I'm just in my own little bubble. You know what I mean? I'm with all my people doing whatever we're doing. So I just,
Are you kind of off social media? Are you not really I don't know if you're on Instagram.
I'm on IG, but I'm not active on it. I haven't been on there for, again, probably through this whole pandemic period. And I want to get some shout outs, just from the IG. I got to meet this guy, his name's John. He runs a channel on YouTube. I think it's Sonic Studios. I can't remember that right off the top right now, but awesome dude, lives in the Netherlands.
That's sick.
I was asking advice because I want to start my own channel too. I've literally been, I've
got
equipment, and I've been wanting to set this up now for literally the last
4 years. Bro.
But for whatever reason, I just procrastinate constantly because I don't have this perfect. I don't have that.
We all got to subscribe, guys. No, bro, I'm telling you, that's one thing I know about is you just have to start YouTube. You have to start, you'll look back and go, oh, that sucked. but you just have to
You
start.
just have to
Yeah.
start.
And it,
So how I started though was, I don't know if you're aware, but I started doing playthroughs for all the
I've
songs
seen
on
them
our
on the
catalog,
Deftones channel. Yeah.
And I'm not done yet. I haven't done any now for a while, but that's because personally I've just been going through life.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Just there's always something that's jamming me up. And but I'll tell you right now, the next video that I will be putting up when I do it, because I already, I said it's just on my schedule, that it's just not on a calendar date, but it will be Pink Maggot off of White Pony.
Wow.
The last song off of there, and that's where I'll pick up and I'll continue and I'll go through all the songs, and I'm playing the songs that I'm
Right.
on. You know what I mean? If there's something I didn't do anything on, I'm not going to go.
Of course.
Like, oh, I'm on this song.
But you're into
Yeah,
podcasting too, though, which I also think is sick. You could maybe talk about shit you're interested in on your channel. You could bring guests on. It's very easy to do.
Yeah, but believe me, I got all the things that have been done can be done.
Right.
I've talked about all these things. I mean, I got ideas and I want to do all these things. I don't really want to get into like reviewing equipment or anything like that. I don't care less about that. But I got a lot of equipment that I'm going to use, and and I will show it off, and I will be proud, of whatever, and I'll be like, yeah, this piece is amazing. But I'm not looking to do that for anything other than personal gratification, and mostly, ultimately, just to create more music. I mean, that's all it's going to end up driving, at the end of the day. It's just be more music, and yeah. But like I said, that's been a process. Like I've got all my gear to set up my stuff. I'm closer at it now than I actually was when I started, but that's only because I've exhausted everything, and I was like, the only thing that's jamming me up at this point is me. Just get on and go.
Right. And that's just the thing, just starting the process. But I mean, everyone that's watching this will subscribe to your channel for sure. I mean, are you just going to be direct uploading to Deftones?
No, it'll be my own channel. Yeah, no, it'll be my own. And like I said, I do all the playthroughs and I put them up on the Deftones channel. And shout out to everyone that's been paying attention to that, and all the comments. I read everyone's comments, man. I love hearing everybody's things. I love when people's, I like reading the hater comments because I'm a hater too. You know what I mean? So I'll be cracking up when fools got to say what they got to say. But I'm like, go ahead, say it. I get it. I can say some crazy shit.
Do you ever like get on there like on like a shadow account and like rant and shit? Like, no. So you're not that bad. You're not a real hater then. You know what I mean? Like a real hater is just all day.
Yeah, no. My hate is for
yeah, exactly, bro. Just trash talking. I'm with that. Like WWE Attitude Era, like shit level shit talking.
Sure.
Were you a wrestling fan?
I still am. I mean, I don't follow it closely or anything like that. But yeah.
What do you do like outside of music for fun? Like, what is there like any other hobbies you're into, like completely unrelated to music?
Very simple. I've gotten so out of shape watching so much YouTube over the past handful of years or whatever, right? That I've literally gotten to this place where, some days it's a struggle, I'm really tired, you know what I mean? I'm just exhausted and I don't want to do nothing. But I've been out riding my bike. I take our little dog out for bike rides every morning, cause she, we got a little elderly little puppy, she's got that, got the arthritis and can't go for walks all the time. And, which ultimately keeps me from going on walks. And then I'm struggling. I'm just like, got to get out there and do all this, So I'm really that's kind of been my personal focus, is just getting outside and out moving around. But other than that, I keep it simple. We just built some, planters in our yard.
Oh, that's sick.
Some gardening. I mean, just again, like I was talking about missing out on so many things because I've been out doing, I'm just living what would be considered to be your average life. I don't do anything that no one else isn't doing. My perspective, I share so many common things with everyone. I mean, I can have a conversation with anyone about anything and have a great time, even when it's something about probably that I don't even like. And I'll just be like, I can appreciate hearing your perspective on it because I like gaining the perspective.
I found for me, I just started out loving walking and I got into from watching YouTube, I would watch these people that would vlog going hiking and I'm like, I want to do this for some reason. And I think it's just like listening to podcasts while I walk, I guess. But anyhow,
That's what I do. I mean, I'll go out. That's funny that you say that, because that's the actual thing that slows me down before I even get out the door. Because I feel like I'm just sitting there scrolling forever down my feed, like, all right, anything that I just haven't seen a million times. Is there something new?
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
I'm the same way.
of course there is, but your feed just wants to keep giving you what it thinks you need to have, and I'm like, stop thinking for
Yeah.
me.
Anybody who's watching at home, bro, like if you feel like shit, just going outside is half the battle, it seems, and going for a walk. That definitely has done wonders for me. And it started me getting back into eventually running again. And I've ended up losing 50 pounds and all this shit. And like, I never thought I would be able to do that, to be honest. I just thought, oh, I'm not going to work out anymore.
Yeah, I relate to that, and what I mean. So it's like I'm just at that place where, as an individual, I'm having to, just force myself. Like, okay, you got yourself in this hole. You got to get yourself out of this hole. You know what I mean? And it's not easy, but I mean, I'm in a better place now than I was 6 months ago. I'll be in a better place 6 months from now, and so on. I mean, I just try to always maintain positive perspective, because I don't want to manifest the negativity. It's so easy.
Yes.
Negativity is just right there, just waiting for you.
And reasons to
I'm here.
complain and all of that,
It's weird, I as you're saying that was one of the things that got me out riding the bike all the time, because in our area where we live, we start the day off every day because we're close to the coast with the marine layer. So it's generally gray and chilly out before it gets warm and nice. You know what I mean? And like I said, during this past period of time, the pandemic, whatever you want to call it, blah, 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 that part of me getting lazy and sitting inside on YouTube all the time wasn't because I was just so drawn to the content.
Right.
I mean, whatever. I mean, it's interesting, but, I always felt like we're in this perpetual state of winter where it's always cold, it's always gray, but it's just always cold and gray here. It's not actually cold and gray everywhere else. So I was like, I need to start leaving my neighborhood and getting out. And, it's been a help. I mean, I'm still not feeling the great, like I wish I would, but I'm feeling better, and it's just going to take some time. That's, like I said, I'm learning all these things, about myself and trying to get it right.
Oh, hey, what's your name? That's so cute.
It's Popo.
I have 4 cats of my own. I love this.
Oh, what's up, kid? Fully invading.
Is that a she or a he?
I have all girls.
You have 4
in my life. Yeah, we have 3 cats and 1 dog.
Oh, that is so cute. I have 4 cats and 2 boys, 2 girls, and they are just hilarious.
Yeah, I love animals, all types.
Me too.
From the most tiniest little thing that you never even seen. Like, I just love life, and it's sad when life has to go or it gets taken. But it's like, you gotta always remind yourself that's just part of the cycle. I mean, we're all coming, we're all going.
Right.
It's just gonna be the way it is. There ain't no way around it.
And
that again, like we were talking about that earlier, just slightly. I mean, that's the difference from when we started to now. When we started and you're young, the last thing you're thinking about is your mortality.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get up into your older years and you're like, oh God, is today the day? Don't be the one.
Yeah.
What was that? What was that pain? Was that what no, please don't be.
Yeah. Well, look, I don't want to hold you all day, especially that cat seems like it's hungry or something. But I really want to say, dude.
No, she just wants
some
love.
attention.
It's actually our little dog. She's actually like staring at me like, can you let me out? I gotta go to the bathroom.
Well, I just want to say, dude, it means so much to me that you did this podcast. It really, really means a lot. I've been listening to your band for so long, and I think it says a lot about you. As y'all know, most of these podcast guests, we just get connected directly. And with the success of your band, I just think it's freaking amazing. I know my audience is going to trip as well. And bro, come back on when that channel is ready to go, and we will all get behind you and subscribe and show love and support, man, because definitely meant a lot when you wore that shirt, bro.
I appreciate that. And like I said, I'm here, as a fan, I'm not here in any official capacity trying to talk
Right.
about, "Look, check me out, look at us." Like I said, and I started, I first heard of you at the beginning of your channel, or I didn't say the beginning of the pandemic, but, it wasn't after that, long after that, is in that period of time. And I went on another podcast, and everybody was just like, "Blah, blah, blah, Steph, blah." And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the flat Earth stuff. Can we talk about it?
Just whatever. It doesn't even matter if you talk about it. You know what I mean?
It's just your opinion.
It only means something. It only means stuff to those that it means stuff
exactly.
to. Otherwise,
but I want to be clear, bro, as well, because I do look into conspiracy, so I have no judgment towards anybody. You can look at the logo of my channel. Speaks for itself. It's like
it's simple. There's reality, and then there's the reality that you think you're
right.
in.
Yeah,
that's the easiest way.
Do you think that we're kind of in a simulation when you say like, I've looked a little bit into simulation theory, and that's pretty wide. There's a lot of people who talk about that. Elon Musk.
I'll tell you this. I'm gonna tell you what I know, and what I know is that I have said with great humility and great arrogance for a long time that I know everything, and I say that because it's just funny sounding, right? But having said that, I say that because I know damn well that I don't know everything.
Yeah, dude.
And if you're gonna ask me about what this thing is, what it is, what we're part of in this thing, I haven't the slightest clue.
Right.
My perspective is simple though. Where I am now, I didn't have an understanding of what God was or is all the way, through my youth. But I feel like now this is God's realm, and it's undeniable. Yeah. And if we're going to talk about science, well, science is God. God is science. They are the same.
Right. No, I definitely get down with that 100%, bro. And I want to thank you for being here. I could sit here and talk to you for 3 hours, and I would love for you to come back. It's just amazing. I'm definitely going to come out to countless more shows in the future. And, it's just been amazing. This whole thing has been amazing. It's been so sick talking to you. And I just really appreciate this, man.
Hey, like I said, I took this opportunity as a fan. I'm not here to be, like I said, it's not in any official way or anything like that. And thank you for your time too. You know what I mean? This was the last thing I was expecting today, was to actually go on all this. I was just, like I said, I wanted to just say, hey, I appreciate what you do. It's nice. You know what I mean? It's not, the world has so much stuff that just trying to drive you, just pound you into the ground, and you're not that. Like I said, when I bought it, I bought it to support the cause. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm a fan too, and I enjoy that kind of thing creates this kind of thing. You know what I mean?
100%. Well, bro, I appreciate you. Please come back when you've got the channel ready, or any other time you ever want to. And thank you so much.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate it.